got to remember too, Nigel, when we first came out here in 1984, there was no landscape architects.
I'm going to ask you, are you a brand or are you still a person?
My motto is, if it's no fun, don't do it.
Welcome to another episode of Koktail Conversations by Koktail Magazine. I am Nigel Oakins, co-host and founder of Koktail Magazine, and today I'm at the stunning Baan Botanica on the outskirts of Bangkok, home of the acclaimed and prolific designer, architect, and all-round creative force Bill Bensley. Bill heads up the Bensley Partnership, a team of 120 talented people with offices in Bangkok and Bali. He has designed more than 200 projects in over 50 countries, and next stop is the Congo. Fun fact, a self-taught artist, Bill held his first exhibition in Bangkok recently, which was a virtual sellout, with all proceeds going to his Shintamani Foundation in Cambodia. So let's get at it. Well, good evening, Bill. It's great to be here in your garden. When I was telling people I'm coming over to see you to Baan Botanica to have a conversation, people say, oh my God, you're so lucky to see this garden. You've got to take some pictures of it. So we're going to try and do that, I think, here as well. But just give me a little bit of info about how this came to be.
Well, it's a work in progress. You know, we moved in here, many years ago now, almost 30 years ago. And as people move out of the neighborhood, then we will buy the next property and then keep it changing all the time. I think that's the key. There's 17 different pocket gardens here.
What is that? Do they have names?
Yes.
And so we're in
the banquet garden.
Oh, okay.
Right?
No, okay.
Because this has some lights in it at night, so we usually put up
beautiful.
a big table here,
Yeah.
and then that's where the shows occur up there on the stage, right in front, right behind the photographer, right back there, right behind Nop.
Yeah, it looks good, Nop, right? and what's through the beautiful door here?
Through the door here is our guest house. So we have what we call the Rose Cottage, which is actually where my father was born in Oxford.
Okay.
So I named it after his birthplace.
And you told me a bit about him when we were chatting before we set the cameras up, but he lived with you for 18 years towards the end of his life, and he was a bit of a character by all accounts.
Yeah, he was a very honorary character, yeah. But yeah, we endured and we passed him on to the next life.
Oh, he left from a very beautiful place.
He did enjoy living here, and he especially enjoyed the Thai girls.
Ah, good for him. I don't know quite what to say to that. Okay, fair enough. Very general question, if I may, or comment, if I may, to kick off. I'd be really interested in your definition of just the broad definition of the word creativity. You're labeled as a very, very creative person. And how do you see that, in a sense? What is your definition of that?
What is creativity? I think my favorite word next to creativity is curious.
Oh,
right. And I think of myself as a very curious person and therefore creative. So there's nothing that I'm not interested in.
So you can't be creative unless you've got some curiosity.
I think that's it. Don't you think, Nigel?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I've never considered myself creative.
I see.
But I am curious. Now, before I go any further, I should actually thank you for this cocktail.
It's a very simple Tanqueray and tonic. We don't drink too much around here, but
yeah. Well, at least you've catered to my taste. I love a gin and tonic at 5 p.m. in the evening. So thanks.
Yeah, I thought having an Englishman over a gin and tonic is going to hit the spot.
It does hit the spot. I'm going to come on to you, staying with you as a person, and also as your business. You labeled it the Bensley Group. I don't know if that's the right word for it, but I'm going to ask you: are you a brand or are you still a person?
That's a weird question. My brand or still a person? Well, with our hotels, the Bensley Collection, I suppose I'm a brand. But as an owner of an architecture, interior design, landscape architecture firm of 120 people, I think I'm an individual.
I'm guessing if you lose your individuality, somehow the brand wouldn't do too well.
Yeah, I think so too.
You started off actually designing gardens, is that right?
That's right, yeah.
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but you kind of felt in that time that was a great thing to be doing. You created some of the most beautiful gardens, iconic gardens in Thailand and possibly outside too. I believe that it wasn't that rewarding to be designing great gardens for not that great buildings.
That's right.
Not very diplomatic, but how did you get
Yeah.
that across to the clients?
You know, I just asked. I asked to do things. I have an undergraduate in landscape architecture and a graduate degree from Harvard in architecture. But I did come out here, and my first job was in Singapore. And the first day that I got to Singapore, I got the job. And the next week, I was on a plane to Bali. And I was designing gardens in Bali. And so for the next 4 years or 5 years, I became the Bali garden expert. And
Right.
like, for example, in Jakarta, there was 7 hotels going up. I had the contract to do 6 of those 7 hotels garden. But I could realize really very quickly that I didn't want to be put in that box of the Bali garden designer. Oh, Bill Bensley designs the Bali gardens. So,
Yeah. I mean, there is an element of Bali in it still. I mean, you still retain some element of that in
Sure, gates, right? I mean, gates is a big element in a Balinese garden. There's a gate, although this gate is from China, and it has African horns on the outside, but that's very much a critical part.
So you just build on it as a platform and build up and build up from
Bensley
there.
sized it.
Yeah. And I guess some clients might still kind of want that kind of Bali-esque underpinnings to designs even now.
In Bali, yes, it works very well. In fact, we just finished a project called the Capella in Ubud in Bali.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
And it's a tenant camp, and it's Condé Nast world's #1 hotel in the world, and it's 24 tents, but with this beautiful Bali garden all around it.
So you did the whole concept for
The
that,
whole
didn't you?
concept, yeah. Right down to the teaspoons.
Well, again, that's something I've heard, that you're very meticulous. I'm trying to think what I read. Were you a maximalist designer with a minimalist mindset or something like? Have I got that right?
I think I have a minimal brain. Maybe that was
Well,
it.
that
yeah.
was it. Minimal
Yeah, the
brain,
minimal
trying to do maximum, get maximum mileage out of a minimal brain.
Especially after 6 of these, right?
Totally. Yeah, and another quote I got in the back of my mind here is that you don't just want to put heads on beds. You want to design hotels with a purpose, with some sort of reference to the environment
course.
around them. Has that something that's changed as you've gone through your career, or have you always been an environmentalist?
Well, growing up as a landscape architect and growing up in California, where I grew up on a small farm where we grew all of our own animals and food and vegetables and bees, and
Right.
I learned how to become self-sustainable from a very early age. So you asked the question, has being a patron of the earth, or has that always been a big factor in my hotel designs? No, not really. I've sort of grown into that more so. And especially hotels with a purpose, I've grown into that. Because when you got to remember too, Nigel, when we first came out here in 1984, there was no landscape architects.
No.
Chula had just graduated their first graduate from landscape architecture school in 1984. And I met one of the graduates, Kimwadi Paupaler, and she still works with me today.
Oh, well, how many years is that?
That was 1984, so
So it's getting on for
40 years, right?
Jeez.
Yeah, I just left her at the meeting. So we go back a long ways. But what my point is that way back then, to even hire a landscape architect to do a garden for a hotel was very extravagant. And now it's absolutely necessary. And now the garden's got to have stories, layers and layers and layers upon stories about, every single of the 17 pocket gardens. And beyond that, those 17 pocket gardens need to have a purpose, right?
Right.
So it's becoming much more complex now than it was before.
Now, you must get approached by many potential clients, some of whom don't have a purpose. So what is the process there? You look at it and you go, no, we're a bit busy now, maybe later. Or do you say, look, we love what you're doing, but there's no purpose here. We can help you find that purpose.
We get asked to do a project Monday through Friday about once a day.
Wow.
So I can be very selective. One of the things that, you got a minute?
I have.
You got a minute? Okay.
I'm definitely.
I got a minute. Okay. One thing that came across my desk just last month was the Congo Conservation Company.
Congo
Okay. Conservation Company. And they want me to do a tiny little 6-room camp on the edge of a bay. David Attenborough went there and he described this place as a bay. That's where the elephants come to eat minerals and salt. And I thought, oh my God, this is great, because I've always wanted to do it, right? So it's already everything. It's a purpose. It's pocket gardens. It's everything. So that's where I'm going on Saturday.
So you haven't turned that one down?
I said, well, yeah, both feet. I'm in on that, yeah.
And your team are going, oh, that's good. We're off to the Congo for the week.
Yeah. So I'm going on Saturday.
So that's what kind of drives you, as you 40 years in the business. I'm trying to be diplomatic here. I've been 45 years in the media business, I think, now. So as you get to that stage in a career, it's really more about finding a purpose and fun in the projects you're taking on.
You know, that's so important, Nigel, is that especially with my hotel company, Shintamani, it's got to be fun. And my motto is, if it's no fun, don't do it.
So Shintamani is in Cambodia, is it?
It is. We've got 4 hotels there.
And one of them is a tented camp with, 15, 16, 20?
We have 15 tents there, and it's called Shintamani Wild.
Right.
And it is beautiful.
Now, you're an owner there. You're not.
Yes.
Obviously, you designed
and
it
designed
as well.
it, yeah.
So you didn't want to pick a different design agency for your own project.
That'd be a bit silly, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I mean,
go on, you get in there. I'm tired of this.
And it's a fairly large plot of land, and you're trying to do something, I understand, with the wildlife around there. I'm guessing it's poaching and. What else would there be?
Illegal logging.
And logging too, eh?
Illegal logging, yeah.
So how do you do that? How do you protect the land from those bad forces?
From those bad forces, while we have a company that is a 115-person private army.
Wow.
And they all carry AK-47s, and they all go out with a minimum of 4 people.
It's that dangerous.
It's that dangerous. There's a big mafia that sets out something like 50 meters that we'll come back with 50 meters of traps, 50 meters long. And these traps are strong enough to take down an elephant. And they
would maim an elephant if they trigger the trap, would take a leg off or something and
kill an elephant. Oh. We had a juvenile elephant go down in Mondulkiri last year.
So that is some security force. So I'm guessing your guests don't complain too much at that hotel if they don't come in and say, Bill, the service wasn't quite what we're looking for.
I never thought of it like that, no.
You don't have them standing around on checkout.
But one of the great things that we do there is that they can go out on patrol with our army. And
they can.
They can.
But surely that's dangerous.
It is. It is dangerous. We haven't lost any guests yet, but
you've been very careful then.
We've been very careful. Yeah, they don't wander that far from the camp, but we have. My particular property is about 10,000 hectares, and all of the Cardamom National Forest, of which we are the southernmost part, that's about 2 million hectares.
Are there tigers in there?
There still might be. We're not really sure.
Not filmed him yet. Yeah.
And I have cameras all over the place. We've got a lot of wildlife there: gibbons and terrapin and pangolins and.
All of those are endangered to some degree.
Right.
Yeah. I'm going to change the subject now. It's a great subject, but I saw a video of you. I think it was a birthday a year or two ago, where you kind of took over a train and went on holiday with all your friends.
Yeah.
You and your husband and your friends. Basically, that was it.
Yeah.
Come and join us, and we're going to have a good time. Was that a thing? Or was that something you're going to do more of? Or are you going to set up a sort of vacation on a train in the wilds of Thailand? Or?
Well, that's something I'm working on right now.
Oh, you are?
Yes, okay. It's a really fun project. It's called the Intercontinental. in Khao Yai. And you know I'm very much a conservationist and an environmentalist, so I want to create the world's first hotel, which will be open in September of this year, in a few more months.
Okay.
I want to create the first hotel in the world that uses old railroad carriages.
Okay, where will you source them from? From Europe?
They're all over Thailand, because what most people don't know is that the rail system here that we have between Hue Hin and Phuket and Chiang Mai is about 1/15 of what we used to have. The railroad system was huge, so that there's a lot of derelict carriages out there available to use. And so we've pulled out carriages that have strangler figs growing all over them. Right? And some of them I've left them there just to show people what that was.
Yeah.
And we are reconstructing the inside again with recycled goods and recycled furniture and antiques and such. And we're creating this train heaven on the edge of this beautiful forest.
And the train will move, or?
No, this train is stationary.
It's stationary.
So here's the good thing about it, is that you know how narrow a train is. It's 2.5 meters, right?
Right.
Well, if you cut the corridor out, you get a decent size to work with.
Yeah.
So the trains, it's like this, 22 meters by 2.5 meters, we're coming in on the side.
Okay.
Right? We come in on the side, and we can come through the train. So each room is 22 meters. We come in on the side, on the outside of the deck where the beautiful view is, there's a swimming pool, there's an outside deck, but inside, that's the bedroom, because that'll fit nicely within this 2.5 meter.
Did the birthday trip inspire this, or was it the other way around? You had
It was the other way around, because what we're trying to do now is it's experimentation. So almost everything that I do is about how to make a better hotel. So it was my birthday party, but I wanted to experiment on how to get people from Bangkok on a Friday night and play Orient Express.
Right. Oh, so it was a game.
It was a game, right? So that's
like Murder on the Orient Express.
That's what the Murder on the Orient Express. So that's what we want to do, is on Friday night play this game and get people up there.
So dressed in the film, regalia, everything.
Exactly, and then come back on Sunday, and then so we get. But it's a very elaborate way of doing it. So that what you saw was an experiment.
It looked like fun.
It was amazing. Amazing fun.
I think I've read you've designed up to 200 hotels or hospitality venues.
All over the world.
Is there a signature that if someone walks in, can they go, this is a Bill Bensley?
Well, you know what? Over the years, I've very pedantically, if that's a word, tried to not have my own signature. And you know why? Because it's more important that I follow the brief of the client to try to give him something that's completely original than to impose my Bensleyisms onto him.
It's I mean, and also in terms of you said you had 150 people in your team. Is that the biggest team? The biggest your team has ever been? Is it?
No, it's 120. 120. We've been at it for a long time, yeah.
Yeah. So you didn't slow down during the last 2 years.
The last 2 years has been the best years ever.
So why is that? And people are saying, well, look, this is a great time to repurpose, and we need to upgrade, we need to change. We don't have too many guests. It's time to do it.
Why did that change? Well, because for one thing, we were awarded for the 5th time now the world's #1 hotel in the world. So that gets us a lot of press.
So that is really important.
That's really important for a hotel designer, right? And that gets us a lot of press. So we get inquiries from once a day. All over
so I was
the
going to
world.
ask you, you've jumped in ahead of the question I was going to ask, is how important are awards to you? And have you ever sat as a judge on any?
All the time.
Yeah, so I was interested in how you think about judging others when you're also thinking about, well, this is going to win me an award. I mean, how are you looking at other people's work and judging it, and what makes something stand out from another designer for you?
Well, when I'm asked to be a judge, I can never be part of that.
You're not judging your peers.
No, I have to judge my peers, but when I'm.
But your project wouldn't be.
My project wouldn't be in there.
No. So your judge. So what criteria makes something stand out? What are you looking for?
Creativity. Your first question is have I seen it before?
Is it original?
is it original? Have I seen it before?
Yeah. You know, and what's the best project you've ever seen when you've been judging? Have you got one favorite that stands out? Would you be able to pinpoint one and say that was just something sensational?
I think it was a project as a clubhouse in southern China by Tan Hong Bang. And he made this beautiful clubhouse, and the whole roof of it just sparkled like the galaxy. Yeah, he's a brilliant designer.
And when you see work that good, do you think, I could incorporate some of that in mine, or just, hands off,
Oh,
that's his?
no, I would. Yes, I have.
As I walked through to the garden today, I couldn't help seeing, I was a bit nosy anyway, but you've got so many beautiful artifacts, and they do kind of fit wherever you put them. But another slogan I think you came up with, buy first and think about it later, or something like that, I think.
Right.
Pretty cool. How does that work?
Well, you know what is that I do so many wonderful projects that I believe we already have enough new stuff in this world. So the things that we're sitting on here,
Yeah.
these are all vintage products. So what I do, and I think it's really fun to do, is I go to the Midlands of England.
Right.
And I go there every year, well, BC, before COVID. And I fill up 2-3 containers full of beautiful objects. And when I buy a chair for $100, it goes to my client for $100. So I don't do it for profit.
Oh, I see.
Right? So I do it because environmentally it's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So that's where that came from, buy first, think later. If it's something that I haven't seen before, I'm going to buy it because I know I'll be able to fit it into some project somewhere sooner or later.
Oh, cool. And it's at cost to your client as well, so it's a win-win.
And people love it. Clients love it.
I'm going to go back a little on sustainability now. You wrote a white paper on sustainability.
Did.
What made you do that?
Well, this was about 3 years ago. BC. It was early one morning, and I had just gotten a couple of new projects. And I don't know if you know this, Nigel, but all architects that work on hotel projects, they are issued what is called a building standard.
Oh, right. Okay.
Building standards. And it's like that thick, or sometimes that thick. And so every hotel company has their own. They spend a lot of money in writing it. And I had this idea that, the building standards that we have, how much do they talk about sustainability? So I went to my office where I've got the stack of standards this high or even higher. And I went through them. It took me about 3 days to look at it, to go through them all. And basically, none of them had anything to do with sustainability. They do now.
That's extraordinary.
Extraordinary.
Right? I mean, how could you not? What were they thinking, right?
Right. Well, remember even 3-4 years ago, sustainability was still a new buzzword, right? It was
I guess. And it's a kind of old buzzword now, but...
Right. Things go in and out of fashion, right?
Yeah.
So I said, well, this is not very good. And I wanted to reach out and help everybody that we could. So I wrote a 100-page paper, and that got boiled down to 50 pages. Now it's about 15, because that's really what people will read.
That's a nugget.
That's a nugget, yeah. And it talks about really simple things like light and air from two sides of a room,
right,
instead of just one side.
Yeah.
I mean, really simple things.
Perfect for a train, I would imagine.
Perfect for a train, exactly, yeah. And I asked the guys at Marriott, how many of your hotels have light and air from two sides? And they said, they're only yours, Mr. Bill.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I got on the lecture circuit and then went around and told people and got this, and now it's mandatory reading for a lot of schools, and so it's really
it's being
basic.
incorporated into these big companies.
Kempinski and versus.
When we started Koktail, it was interesting. We sent the word out to all the PR people. We got all the PR things. A beautiful new hotel being designed by Bill Bensley. Looking out at the ocean. Please do a story. We've got some more pictures here. And I was talking to my colleagues and the editor Mika and said, you know what? I mean, that's not for us, right? Why don't you write back to them and say, thanks for sending it, because we were just ignoring them. And I said, you don't want to ignore them, right? They made an effort, so go back. And I said, go back to them and say, yeah, good for you, and we appreciate it, but we're not going to cover it. But we would cover it if you had a sustainable or a responsible luxury element. Boy, did we get a response to that. I mean, I almost wish I'd never said it, because we were then flooded, and you felt an obligation. These guys have gone out of the way to say, what we do is this. We work with the local community to do this and do this and do this. And is that a story for you? And yes, it is. And so we've been able to kind of get into that. I think my view on it was that companies are not really putting much attention to it, but people a little bit down the line think, we need to have a sustainable element in this. We need to be responsible to the community around us.
Good.
You know, so I think it is changing. I mean, slowly at the top, but...
It is changing.
Yeah. Now, it's going to get dark soon, so I want to get a couple of more kind of things in there. But one of them is your art. Humility say you're self-taught, right? You didn't sit in an art school study.
No, I'm very much an outsider.
So what are your influences first?
Well, you know what? That's a good question, is that, I've been painting now for about 3 years.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And I started painting because of a great friend of mine, Kate Spencer. She's English, and she really pushed the brush into my hand. But so she's certainly my greatest influence. But what I've been doing, because I'm not formally trained, is that every month I take on a muse. For example, 1 month I loved Basquiat.
Okay,
So
yeah, cool. I mean, me too.
Yeah, so I painted everything Basquiat, and then the next time I painted something that was all Monet.
Okay.
And et cetera. So I've gone through perhaps 40 different artists trying to emulate their style, but with my subject matter.
There's definitely some. I've never seen a picture live, a painting live, but I've seen some on the web, and there's definitely some Balinese influences in there. And
Donald Friend.
Yeah.
My room here, my house here is full of Rudolph Bonets.
Oh right, okay. So there was a bit of that, and a little bit of China influences and things. Wallace Ting or something. I mean, I've seen. There seem to be you kind of picking up a vibe, and that's your monthly muse.
That's
painting.
my monthly muse.
And you
of
sound
painting.
prolific. Having a monthly muse sounds
Yeah.
prolific. Right? You had an exhibition. I have no idea.
It's still
It's running.
still have it.
It's
yeah.
still on, right?
It's
It
still
was
on to the end of February.
How is it doing?
I can't believe how kind people are to me.
You're donating a lot of the proceeds, if not all of them.
All of the proceeds.
To the foundation.
The Shintamani Foundation.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
far we're only halfway through, but we've raised over 6 million baht.
Can I ask how many paintings that is?
Maybe 45, 50?
Oh, so it's a good. They're not super expensive, are they? So
No.
there's still room for people to get in and buy a few more, is there?
Yeah, there's still some left, but mostly sold.
But do you get a little bit kind of nostalgic when one of those paintings walks out? I could always imagine, sort of a great artist going, "Oh God, someone bought it. I kind of like that."
I don't have any more room.
So you got to sell them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it really is starting to get a bit dark. It's been wonderful. I've got one last theory, and I wanted to run it by you,
Sure.
which is that you seem very busy.
Uh-huh.
You got a lot of projects. You're a man of many. Do you find yourself sometimes thinking, well, what can I do? I'm home here now tonight. What am I going to do? I've got a weekend coming up. Do you find you've got time on your hands?
No, because I'm on the weekends. I'm up at 6,
Right?
and I'm out here, and I painted this studio right over there until 6 o'clock. So I take all the daylight hours.
So there's not a moment in the day there you're thinking,
Moment of the day. What the hell am I going to do now?
So you
No.
don't feel a need to, no downtime, no...
Well, Chirichai and I, we travel a lot. We went to Mexico over New Year's, and we were there for about 2 months.
So this would be...
And I was painting the whole
Oh,
time.
you're still painting it. Well, that was my theory, that you just never stop.
Yeah.
If you've got a little bit of space in the day, you're going to fill it with something.
Yeah.
It must be really
still.
annoying to Chirichai, I would imagine. Does he ever say, come on, Bill?
No, never does.
You've got to lighten up a bit here sometimes.
No, never does. He's
No.
he's totally used to it.
Yeah. What's next? What's the next project? That's not, not one of the things have you got something that you're planning that you haven't yet been able to do?
Well, for longest time was I really wanted to do a camp in Africa.
And that's it. You've got it now, right?
Yeah, that's come to fruition. What's next? The next big project is we're doing a very ecologically and sustainable hotel and community in the Algarve of Portugal. So that's going to be a new one now.
Beautiful, yeah. You've worked in 50 countries, you said, so there's going to be a limit. You're not going to be able to do all 225.
I hope not.
All right, Bill, you've been really kind. Appreciate taking some time to join us in Koktail Conversations. there couldn't be a better, more beautiful setting for it than this. I've really enjoyed my conversation with you. And good luck in the Congo.
Thank you so much. I hope I come back.
Yeah, I'm so too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. Cocktail Conversations by Cocktail Magazine is hosted by founder Nigel Oakins and editor-in-chief Mika Apichasakon. Follow us on Spotify to keep up with the latest conversation. You can also find us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at Cocktail Magazine.